Be the Chief, Chapter 6, Mentoring Junior Officers. The good chief says, "Excuse me, I need to fix my JO." The great chief says, "Let me ask my Divo if they're available. They'd be great for that opportunity." The most poignant fact I've learned as a chief is no matter how high ranking an enlisted sailor is, they still do not share in the charge of command. As it was once explained to me at CMC school, quote, "We do not share command, but we share in the leadership of it," end quote. This can be difficult, especially for a new chief to understand, but facts are facts. I mean, when choosing between a 12-year first-class petty officer or a fresh-from-school ensign, who would you rather consult during a crisis? All of the duties executed by chiefs, mentoring JOs, junior officers, that's among the most important. It's a glass plate that cannot be dropped for sure. The Navy defines a junior officer as pay grades 01 to 04. Yes, a lieutenant commander is still, technically, a junior officer. Even as a new chief, the chief is expected to guide and provide mentorship to that officer, to include representing and advocating for their sailors. Basically everything we discussed in the balance chapter. Easy enough, right? Not so much. Difficult JOs exist. And so do difficult chiefs. Rarely is it a match made in heaven, and if both sides aren't willing to forge an open and honest relationship and recognize they each have something to offer, the results can be detrimental to the division or the mission. My last 3 XOs have been 04s or 05s. All have been receptive to my advice. And when my advice is not taken, I do not take offense to that. Officers make decisions. They give orders, and they assume the risk. We, the chiefs, guide, advise, and provide every necessary detail and context to get us all to the right decision. After that decision is made, we own it, and we move on. Now, if these junior officers ever considered me a mentor, then okay. But I always see 04s basically as commanders anyway, so I consider my role to be advisory at best, and it's important to remember that. I spent years learning under some very patient and supportive junior officers how to become a solid mentor and a trusted agent. Now, let's do some full disclosure. The Navy offers almost nothing formally as training to chiefs on how to mentor junior officers. There's a PowerPoint training, yeah, but I learned the bulk of this on the job from 2 people. A CTR Master Chief, who's a huge mentor of mine, and a retired senior chief who now works as a civilian. The best guidance I ever got, actually, came from an 03. He gave me a PDF that told the story of why the Army assigns a senior non-commissioned officer to their junior officers. It's called The Officer NCO Relationship. It was published in 1977, and it's a great read. I found it online. It was very useful as he and I went over our expectations. He challenged me to write the Navy's version of it. I don't think I'm quite there yet. The crux of our upward mentorship is called forceful backup. In short, if the emperor has no clothes, the chief better say something about it. If the relationship is strong and the requisite trust between both parties has been achieved, the emperor says, "Thank you," and shows appreciation. Life goes on, trust grows. If there's no trust and no solid footing for the partnership, this observation is going to be ignored, and there will be likely consequences within the partnership. None of this is as easy as it appears. You will find too many instances where mentoring a JO is seen as not comfortable and not an area where the chief wants to improve. By and large, many officers don't care. They know their time in the assignment is very short, usually 2 years or less, and they are more than capable of riding out an annoying chief. Conflict, to them, is simply the price of doing business, and waiting out some salty chief is a challenge easily accepted. Here's an example. I checked into a unit, and I am told there is next to no relationship between the chief's mess and the junior officers on the Divo levels especially, which included both officers and civilians. I met with the chief's mess, and they complained about the Divos. I met with the Divos, and they complained about the chiefs. The most important feedback from the Divos was, quote, "We're told chiefs are great and have all this capability and they're experts and mentors, but we're not seeing any of this," end quote. One prior enlisted civilian pulled me aside. and told me the biggest impact I could have on that command would be to, quote, unfuck your Chiefs mess, end quote. Wow, right? Next Chiefs meeting, I asked for a show of hands on how many Chiefs have ever mentored a junior officer. Out of a dozen or so Chiefs, only one hand went up. So there's the start point, right? Next meeting, Chief training on mentoring JOs. As we collectively milked this cow, we discovered what we had was the result of a young and fast-growing command. We had young chiefs who had not yet mentored division officers, and we had division officers who never had a chief to lean on. Neither side even knew where to start as far as expectations. In this case, blame helps nothing. You own it and you move out, period. What we found was we did have chiefs who were experts. They just had not been appropriately employed to that point. Whatever your circumstances, the techniques to improving your fighting position will remain the same. Let's discuss. Step 1. Build your relationship by getting together. Go to dinner, go to lunch, get a coffee, I don't care. You are to treat every new JO like it's the first 96. If you open the relationship on the wrong foot, then that officer will carry a negative expectation of the Chief's mess for as long as warranted. This is the time to discuss your goals and visions, your limitations, your expectations, and your drivers. Understanding how each prefers to communicate here is critical. It's also a chance to show how well you know your field and your sailors without bragging. Every JO wants a warm and fuzzy and a reason to trust you. Give it to them. Second, be authentic and get to know each other. This is your new tag team partner, and your relationship affects everything about your sailors. This relationship is your responsibility, and if you screw this pooch, your people suffer, and the legacy of the Chiefs mess takes a hit. Be authentic, and that does not mean be weak. You two will experience challenges and stressors during your time together. Being real now is going to help you down the road. Also remember, conflict is inevitable sometimes. Sometimes a person cannot physically or mentally move forward until they have their blow-up moment. This happened to me. The division officer was not going to be happy until they could dress me down to remind me who was an officer, and they insulted nearly everything about my background, from my time in the Navy to my operational and educational experience. What to do? Nod my head and dismiss myself. After some cooling, I returned with my 2 cents. I said, quote, I understand your observations of me, and I now understand what is important to you. But it is also important to me that you understand why I am here and the unique qualities I bring to this program. I'm not asking for you to consider me to be your peer, but I ask that you respect the things I do bring. Unquote. We enjoyed great wins and influenced quite a few changes. I'm not trying to claim that it was my approach that got the relationship on track, because I believe it really helped him initially to get everything off his chest. But that is what happened. It ended up okay, and I still like the guy. From time to time, you will come across folks who depend on conflict, and you will even encounter straight-up bullies. You must maintain awareness and understand that it most likely isn't personal to you, and it is not limited to you. So don't let yourself sink with that ship. Next, be open, understanding, and accepting of your JO. When you have the chance to assert your leadership or technical skills, do it strategically and in a way that makes them thankful they asked you. Don't condescend them, and don't appear like their asking is inconvenient for you. No matter what you think you were told in your Chiefs training, we do not order our JOs around, and we don't tell them what to do. Everything you offer should be qualified as, I would recommend, or I would suggest, and that type of verbiage. Ask them questions. What's our intent here? What's the end state? How can I help? Remember, it's tough to create conflict with a person who is clearly trying to make everyone's life easier. Finally, don't try to deprive your JO of their opportunity to lead. A lot of officers are going to approach a new assignment excited about it and ready to try out their skills with a group. Support this. Be their partner. If they want to be more visible and approachable with the crew, show them the best ways to do that. But don't put up a wall where a wall isn't needed. Two great books that can help you with mentoring JOs. One is that officer-NCO relationship from 1977 that you can Google. And the other is Team Leadership, an open letter to prospective SEAL senior enlisted leaders by Guzentine. Same kind of concept, some good points in there. Side note, Chief Shit. If you notice, this book has nothing to do with writing evaluations. There's nothing in here about which collateral duties you should chase to look good for a board. There are no pointers for writing awards, and you won't find anything in here about manning, admin, or specific command programs. There's nothing about how to hold a quarters or build an 800 report, and nothing about the dozens of processes we employ or technologies we use whose contracts are only going to expire the minute I finish these words. Likewise, there is no time spent here on CPOA matters, designing coins, or building hollow events like CPO Pride Day or Khaki Ball. No commanding officer has ever remarked, "My Chief's mess is the best in the Navy. Just look at how dope their Khaki Ball was." Now more than ever, we need to keep our focus where it matters most. When we allow ourselves to be distracted or even dominated by these extracurriculars, we are building ourselves instead of building our Navy. Competitive swimmers can't be concerned with looking to their left or right during a race to see where their competitors are. Why? It slows them down. A Chief's mess needs to keep its head straight and charge forward. The best advertising campaign and the best way to build pride comes from organic word-of-mouth endorsement from the people we serve. A Chief's mess is a band with a song. If the song is good, people will ask to hear it more. If the song is great, people will hear it more. Period. It speaks to people. It is authentic. It is real. Self-promotion, coins, and parties don't accomplish this. No one is downloading a song because there's a picture of a skull on the album cover. They want it because the song matters to them. When you're good, you tell people how good you are. When you're great, people tell you. Which Chief's mess do you want to be in?